Good evening, football fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, October 8th, 2024, and welcome to the Week 6 edition of the week that was, as we'll be taking a look at individual and team statistical numbers from every game in the National Football League in week number 5, including the Jets and Vikings from London, the Sunday night clash with the Cowboys and Steelers, which was delayed almost an hour and a half because of thunderstorms, and the Monday night showdown with the Saints and the Chiefs. But as always, we're going to start with Thursday night football, as the Atlanta Falcons outlasted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in overtime by a final score of 36-30, sending both teams to 3-2. We'll start with individual numbers for the Atlanta Falcons, and what a night for Kirk Cousins. 42 of 58 for 509 yards with 4 touchdowns and an interception, and a quarterback rating of 114.8. Darnell Mooney attempted a pass in this game and had a 39.6 passer rating. Bijan Robinson led the Falcons rushers with 12 carries for 61 yards at 5.1 a pop. Tyler Algier, 6 for 12 yards. Alright. Drake London led Atlanta's receivers with 12 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown on 13 targets. The aforementioned Darnell Mooney, 9 for 105 and 2 touchdowns on 16 targets. Kyle Pitts, 7 for 88 yards on 8 targets. And then you got the hero of the night for the Atlanta Falcons, Kadero Hodge. He had 2 catches for 67 yards and the game-winning touchdown in overtime on 2 targets. Also listed is Ray McLeod, 6 for 66 on 9 targets. Bijan Robinson, in addition to his rushing numbers, had 3 catches for 16 yards on 3 targets. Tyler Algier, in addition to his rushing numbers, had 3 catches for 13 yards on 3 targets. Younghoe Koo, 3 for 5 on field goals. Long was 54, 3 for 3 on extra points. Bradley Pinion, just 1 punt for 35 yards, and that 1 punt landed inside the 20-yard line. Alright. Defensively leading the way, you had Caden Ellis and J.D. Bertrand with 4 tackles apiece. Jesse Bates had 3 tackles and 2 forced fumbles. Grady Jarrett, 3 tackles. And then you've got A.J. Terrell with 3 tackles. Justin Simmons also added 3 tackles. And David Onyemata had 2 tackles and a sack for the Falcons. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, 19 of 24, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 137.5 passer rating. So both quarterbacks threw the ball pretty well in this game. Mayfield also ran 6 times for 42 yards. Rashad White, 10 for 72, and Bucky Irving, 9 rushes for 44. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans had 5 catches each. Godwin had 64 yards on his five catches and 6 targets, while Evans had 62 yards and 2 touchdowns on his 7 targets, and again, both had 5 receptions. Cade Otton, 3 for 44 on 4 targets. Bucky Irving, 2 for 12 on 2 targets. Sterling Shepard, 1 catch on 2 targets for 4 yards and a touchdown. Chase McLaughlin, 3 for 3 on field goals. Longest was 53. 3 for 3 on extra points. And Trenton Gill had 2 punts averaging 43.5 yards, or long was 45, with 1 touchback. Tyke Smith had 9 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass defense. Jamil Dean also had 9 tackles plus a pass defense. Zion McCollum, 7 tackles and 2 passes defensed. Levante David, 6 tackles, 2 passes defensed, and an interception. KJ Britt finished with 5 tackles, as did Christian Eisen. Yaya Diaby, 4 tackles. Jordan Whitehead had 4 tackles as well, plus a pass defense. And Logan Haw finished with 2 tackles and 2 sacks for the Bucs. Total yards 550 for the Falcons and 333 for the Bucs. Passing yards for Atlanta 477, Tampa Bay 173. Rush yards, Tampa Bay 160 to 73 for the Falcons. Atlanta had 28 first downs to Tampa's 21. The Buccaneers finished 6 of 11 on 3rd down, Falcons 6 of 14 on 3rd down, and 2 for 3 on 4th down. 5 penalties, 47 yards for the Bucs. 1 sack taken for 7 yards, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 2 punts. 8 penalties, 74 yards for the Atlanta Falcons. 4 sacks taken for 32, no fumbles lost, 1 interception, and 1 punt. Time of possession was 33 minutes, 37 seconds for the Falcons, 27 minutes, and 38 seconds for the Buccaneers. Closing line was Atlanta minus 2.5. Over under was 44. I went against the grain and took Tampa Bay to win straight up. Plus, with the 2 points, lost both picks. Oh, and spoiler alert, my picks suffered this week because there were a bunch of surprises yet again in week 5. I'll tell you how poorly I did with my straight up and ATS numbers at the end of the rundown. Plus, also stick around till the end for my week 6 power rankings. And there is some shuffling going on, especially towards the bottom of the power rankings, so stick around. Alright, now to the first of 3 straight Sundays with games playing in London. The first sees the Minnesota Vikings stay undefeated as they beat the New York Jets 23-17. And news from this game, which went down earlier, the New York Jets have fired Robert Saleh as their head coach. So we'll start with individual numbers for the 5-0 Vikings. Sam Darnold was 14 of 31 for 179 yards with no touchdowns and an interception, and a very bad passer rating of 50.3. Nick Mullins completed a pass for 24 yards and a 118.8 passer rating. Not much to speak of in terms of the rushing department for the Vikings. Ty Chandler had 30 yards on 14 carries. Aaron Jones, 7 carries, 29 yards, but he would leave this game with a hip injury and is listed as week to week. Sam Darnold added 5 runs for 11. C.J. Ham did score a rushing touchdown for Minnesota. Justin Jefferson was good but not great. 6 catches, 92 yards on 14 targets to pace the Vikings receivers. Jordan Addison, 3 for 36 on 8 targets. And Johnny Munt had 2 catches for 31 yards on 2 targets. Will Reichert was 3 for 3 on field goals. Long was 54, 2 for 2 on extra points. And Ryan Wright finished with 4 punts, averaging 46.3 yards per punt. Long was 58 with 2 inside the 20. Stephon Gilmore paced the Minnesota defense with 5 tackles, 2 passes defensed, and an interception. Harrison Smith, otherwise known as the Assassin, and Ivan Pace Jr. each had 5 tackles and a sack. Cameron Bynum, 4 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. Josh Metellus, 4 tackles. Byron Murphy finished with 4 tackles and a pass defense. Blake Cashman, 3 tackles and a pass defense. And Jonathan Grenard had 3 tackles as well. Andrew Van Ginkel had a pass defense and a pick 6. That is his 3rd career pick 6 and the 2nd this year for the Vikings. And for the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers really didn't look good either. 29 of 54 for 244 with 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. One of them, that pick 6 we just talked about. And a passer rating of 54.9. And rushing, not a strong suit for the Jets in this game either. Breece Hall was held to 9 carries, 23 yards. And Braylon Allen had 5 carries for 13. Garrett Wilson was targeted early and often in this game. 22 total targets, 13 catches for 101 yards, and a touchdown. Next up, you got Ty Conklin with 6 catches, 55 yards. And Adam Lazard, 4 for 34 and a touchdown on 10 targets. Conklin, I don't think I mentioned it, he had 9 tackles in this game. Greg Zuerlein, 1 for 1 on field goals. From his long was 32. In fact, that was his only attempt. And 2 for 2 on extra points. Thomas Morstead, 6 punts, averaging 49.2 yards. Long was 56. 1 touchback and 2 inside the 20-yard line. Leading the way for the New York Jets defense was Jamian Sherwood with 7 tackles. Quincy Williams had 5 tackles. Isaiah Oliver had 5 tackles and a sack. Tony Adams with 4 tackles and a pass defense. DJ Reed, 3 tackles and 2 passes defense. Chuck Clark, he finished with 3 tackles. Quentin Williams with 2 tackles. Michael Clemens and Will McDonald had 2 tackles and a sack each for the Jets. Total yards were pretty close. 254 for the Jets, 253 for the Vikings. New York held the edge in passing yards, 218 to 171, while Minnesota had the advantage on the ground, 82 to 36. Again, neither team ran the ball all that well. Both teams have 17 first downs. Jets finished 5 of 17 on third down. Vikings 4 of 13. Both teams 0 for 1 on fourth down. New York had 8 penalties for 76 yards, 3 sacks taken for 26. No lost fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 6 punts. Minnesota had 11 penalties for 80 yards, 4 sacks taken for 32, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 4 punts. Time of possession nearly even in this game, 30 minutes, 37 seconds for the Vikings, and 29 minutes, 23 seconds for the Jets. Closing line was Minnesota minus 2.5, over-under was 42. I picked Minnesota both straight up and against the spread, and I won both of those picks. Now to the Sunday afternoon portion of the schedule. Starting off with a thriller in the AFC North as the Baltimore Ravens, who were down 10 points in the fourth quarter, came back and won in overtime over the rival Cincinnati Bengals, 41-38, and it's quite possible that Cincinnati may be done as far as the playoffs are concerned after this loss. Baltimore moves to 3-2 and stays atop the AFC North, while Cincinnati drops to 1-4. Individual numbers for the Ravens: Lamar Jackson was 26 of 42 for 348 with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, and a 119.9 passer rating, plus 12 rushes for 55. Derrick Henry led the charge for the Ravens rushers with 15 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Leading receiver for Baltimore is Zay Flowers, 7 catches, 111 yards on 12 targets. Charlie Kolar, 3 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. Rashad Bateman, 4 for 58 and a touchdown on 8 targets. Mark Andrews, 4 for 55 on 5 targets. And Isaiah Likely low-key had a good game, just 3 catches for 13 yards on 3 targets, but the 2 touchdowns as well. Justin Tucker, 2 for 2 on field goals. His long was 56. His second was the game winner from 24 yards out in overtime, and 5 for 5 on extra points. And Jordan Stout had 3 punts, averaging 56. Long punt was 67. 1 touchback and 1 punt inside the 20. Roquan Smith and Brandon Stevens led the Ravens in tackles with 8 apiece. Stevens added a pass defense as well. Marcus Williams with 5 tackles. And Kyle Hamilton, 3 tackles, and 3 tackles, a sack, and a pass defense. And Trenton Simpson, 2 tackles and a pass defense. Marlon Humphrey added 2 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception for the Ravens defense. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 30 of 39, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, QB rating of 137. That 1 interception really brought down his passer rating. Chase Brown was the leading rusher for Baltimore, 12 for 46 yards and under 4 yards per pop. Zach Moss limited to 9 carries, 24 yards. A near 200-yard game for Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 193, and 2 touchdowns on 12 targets. T. Higgins also getting involved, 9 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns on 14 targets. Chase Brown, in addition to his rushing numbers, had 3 receptions, 8 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. Evan McPherson was 0 for 1 on field goals, that one being a 53-yarder that would have won the game for Cincinnati, and 4 for 4 on extra points. Ryan Reckow, 5 punts at 50.6 yards per punt. Long punt was 66 with 4 inside the 20. Sam Hubbard led the Bengals defense with 7 tackles and a sack. Jermaine Pratt with 6 tackles. Logan Wilson, 5 tackles. Cam Taylor-Britt, 5 tackles and 2 passes defensed. Geno Stone, the former Raven, playing against his former team for the first time, he had 4 tackles. DJ Turner II, he had 4 tackles as well. Trey Hendrickson had 3 tackles for Cincinnati. Total yards, Baltimore 520, Cincinnati 442. Slight advantage in passing yards to the Bengals, 371 versus 345 for the Ravens. Huge rushing edge to Baltimore, 175 to 71. First downs also favored the Ravens, 30 to 23. And both teams were very good on third down on Sunday. 10 of 15 for the Ravens, 8 of 14 for the Bengals. 1 for 1 on fourth downs was Baltimore, who had 5 penalties for 21 yards, 1 sack taken for 3, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 3 punts. And for the Bengals, 4 penalties, 24 yards, 3 sacks taken for 21, no lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 5 punts. Time of possession, edge goes to Baltimore slightly, 33 minutes 45 seconds versus 32 minutes 42 seconds for the Bengals. Closing line was Baltimore minus 2.5, over under 48.5. I went with the Bengals straight up, and with the points, lost both picks. So as I said, my picks struggled. Our next game was the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans, also known as the Stephon Diggs revenge game. And Houston ends up winning this one 23 to 20. They move to 4-1 and still in control in the AFC South. Buffalo, a second straight loss after a 3-0 start. They are now 3-2. Individual numbers for the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud, kind of an up and down game for him. 28 of 38, 331 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 97.6 QB rating, and 3 rushes for 27 yards. Leading rusher for Houston is Cam Akers, 9 for 42 and a touchdown. Dare Ogunbowale, 15 for 30, averaging an even 2 yards per run. Stephon Diggs had a pretty good game against his former mates. 6 catches, 82 yards on 8 targets. Nico Collins, injury concerns on him. Just a second after I tell you he had 2 catches, 78 yards and a touchdown on 2 targets. And he left this game late with a hamstring injury. And Texans coach DeMeco Ryans lists him as week to week. Dare Ogunbowale, 6 catches, 57 yards on 7 targets. Tank Dell, 4 for 38 on 4 targets. And Dalton Schultz, 4 for 34 on 6 targets. Kaimi Fairbairn, 3 for 3 on field goals. His long was 59, which ended up being the game winner. 2 for 2 on extra points. And Tommy Townsend with 5 punts, averaging 44.2 yards. Long was 61. 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Azeez Al-Shaair led the Texans defense with 5 tackles and 2 passes defense. Derek Stingley had 4 tackles and a pass defense. Falorenzo Fadukasi. I usually say his name without problems, but I don't know why I struggle there. He had 3 tackles. Eric Murray, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Likewise for Kamari Lassiter. And for the Buffalo Bills, rough game for Josh Allen. This is probably his worst game as a pro. 9 of 30, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and a 56.4 QB rating, plus 4 rushes for 54 yards. So yeah, rough game for Josh. James Cook, 20 rushes, 82 yards, and a touchdown led the Buffalo running backs. Keon Coleman, 1 catch, 49 yards, which went for a touchdown on 5 targets. Dalton Kincaid, 2 for 34 on 6 targets. Matt Collins, 2 for 27 on 6 targets. And James Cook, 2 for 17 on 3 targets. No catches in this game for MDS. He was targeted 3 times. Tyler Bass, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 38, 2 for 2 on extra points. And Sam Martin, 8 punts, averaging 50.1 per punt. Long punt was 63, and how about 5 of his 8 punts landing inside the 20? That's pretty good. Dorian Williams led the Bills defense with 11 solo tackles. Damar Hamlin, 7 tackles. Cam Lewis also with 7. Daquan Jones with 5 tackles. Christian Benford, 4 tackles. Rasul Douglas, I think that is. Yep, Rasul Douglas also had 4 tackles. And Dwayne Carter, not to be confused with Lil Wayne. His real name is Dwayne Carter. 3 tackles for the Bills. Okay. Total yards, Texans 425, Bills 276. Passing yards were 331 for Houston, 126 for Buffalo. The Bills held the edge on the ground with 150 rushing yards versus the Texans 94. 18 first downs for Houston versus 16 for Buffalo. The Bills were terrible on 3rd down, 3 of 14, 1 for 1 on 4th down. Texans 8 of 16 on 3rd down, 0 for 1 on 4th down. 4 penalties, 25 yards for the Bills, 1 sack taken for 5 yards. No lost fumbles or interceptions, but 8 punts. That's a lot. 7 penalties, 65 yards for the Texans, 1 sack taken for no loss of yards. 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 5 punts. So that's 13 total punts by the 2 teams. Time of possession, Houston 33 minutes 10 seconds. Buffalo 26 minutes 50 seconds. Closing line, Houston -1, over under 47.5. Took the Bills straight up and against the spread. Lost both picks. So that makes me 1-3 both ways. Alright, we got a couple of blowouts to talk about. We'll start off with the Chicago Bears, who destroyed the Carolina Panthers 36-10. And easily the best offensive output by Matt Eberflus and his offense this season. Caleb Williams went 20 of 29 for 304 with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 126.2 passer rating, plus 5 rushes for 34 yards. DeAndre Swift led the Chicago ground attack with 21 rushes, 73 yards, and a touchdown. DJ Moore Playing against his former team, 5 catches, 105, and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. Cole Kmet, 3 for 57 on 4 targets. And in addition to his rushing numbers, DeAndre Swift had 2 catches, 47 yards on 2 targets. And Roma Dunze, 5 for 40 on 6 targets. Cairo Santos, 1 for 1 on field goals. Long was 33, 3 for 4 on extra points. And then you've got Torrey Taylor. 4 punts for the rookie, averaging 44.5 yards. Long punt was 49, with 1 inside the 20-yard line. Kevin Byard led the Chicago defense with 5 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. Tremaine Edmonds, I should say, had 4 tackles and a forced fumble. TJ Edwards had 4 tackles. Jalen Johnson also had 4 tackles. Kyler Gordon with 4 tackles and half a sack. Jaquan Brisker added 3 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass defense. Billings had a full sack, and Walker added a half sack for the Bears. Booker also had a sack in this game. Individual numbers now for the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton started the game, went 18 of 28 for 136, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Poorest QB rating of 61. Bryce Young came in off the bench, went 4 for 7 for 58 yards and an 84.2 passer rating. Andy rushed once for 8 yards, while Dalton ran for 3 on his 1 rush attempt. Chuba Hubbard, bright spot for this Carolina offense, 13 rushes, 97 yards, and a touchdown. As for receivers, they are led by Jalen Coker, rookie out of Holy Cross. 4 catches, 68 yards on 4 targets. Jonathan Mingo, 2 catches, 5 targets, 37 yards. Miles Sanders, who had just 2 rushes for 6, added 2 catches for 27 on 3 targets. Deontay Johnson was pretty much a non-factor, 3 catches for 23 on 6 targets. Eddie Pinheiro, 1 for 2 on field goals. Long was 27, 1 for 1 on extra points. Johnny Hecker, 4 punts, averaging 51.5, or long is 65, 2 touchbacks, and 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. The defense was led by Trevin Wallace with 10 solo tackles. J.C. Horn had 6 tackles and a pass defense. Xavier Woods with 5 tackles. Shy Tuttle, 4 tackles. Sean Robinson with 3 tackles. And Charles Harris with 3 tackles and a sack for the Panthers. Total yards, 424 for the Bears, 292 for the Panthers. Passing yards, 296 for Chicago, 172 for Carolina. And rush yards, slight advantage to the Bears, 128 to 120. But Chicago had nearly double the first downs as Carolina. The Bears had 24 first downs, while the Panthers had 14. Both teams were bad on third down overall. 3 of 12 for the Panthers, 4 of 11 for the Bears. And on fourth down, Carolina was 1 for 3, while Chicago was 0 for 1. The Panthers had 4 penalties for 18 yards, 4 sacks taken for 22, 2 lost fumbles, 1 interception thrown, and 4 punts. 5 penalties, 46 yards for the Bears, 1 sack taken for 8, no lost fumbles, no interceptions thrown, and 4 punts as well. Time of possession dominated by Chicago, 33 minutes, 48 seconds. Carolina, 26 minutes, 12 seconds. Closing line, Chicago -4. Over under 40. Took the Bears, who nearly covered a point spread by themselves with 36. Both straight up and against the spread, I took the Bears, and Chicago wins and covers rather easily. The other blowout this weekend took place in our nation's capital. Well, the second one of them, and that's the Washington Commanders, who continues to open the eyes of football purists nationwide as they downed the hapless Cleveland Browns 34-13. Washington stays in control in the NFC East with a 4-1 record, while Cleveland drops to 1-4. Alright, individual numbers for the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, 14 of 25, 238 yards, 1 touchdown and an interception, and an 85.1 passer rating, and he led the team in rushing. 11 attempts for 82 yards. Marcus Mariota was 1 for 3 for -2 yards and a 42.4 passer rating. Austin Eckler had himself a game. 6 carries, 67 yards, including a 57-yard run. Jeremy McNichols, 7 rushes, 44 yards, and a touchdown. Brian Robinson, 7 rushes, 18 yards, and 2 scores. Terry McLaurin led Washington's receivers, 4 catches, 112 yards on 8 targets. De'Ami Brown have 2 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets. Austin Eckler, 2 for 30 on 2 targets. And Christian McCaffrey's younger brother, Luke McCaffrey, got involved a little bit. He had 3 catches, 19 yards on 3 targets. And Zach Ertz, 2 catches, 10 yards on 8 targets. Austin Seibert finishes 2 for 2 on field goals, Long was 30, and 4 for 4 on extra points. Tress Way had 4 punts, averaging 48, Long was 53 with 1 touchback. Frankie Louvu had himself a game for the Commanders. 4 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Not bad. Jonathan Allen added a sack to go along with his 4 tackles. Quan Martin and Mike Sanderstil had 4 tackles and a pass defense each. And Bobby Wagner with 3 tackles and 1.5 sacks. The beat goes on, and I mean that in a bad way, for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, 15 of 28, 125, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 77.2 passer rating, and no rushing numbers for him. Jameis Winston, 1 for 1 for 16 and a 118.8 QB rating. Jerome Ford led Cleveland's ground attack with 9 carries and 47 yards. And Donta Foreman, 9 rushes for 44, so he was not too far behind him. Amari Cooper led the Browns receivers with 4 catches, 60 yards on 10 targets. And Jordan Atkins, 3 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. Dustin Hopkins, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 51, 1 for 1 on extra points. Corey Bojorquez, 7 punts, averaging 51.6. Long was 65 with 4 inside the 20. Devin Bush led the way for the Browns defense. He had 8 tackles in a pass defense. There we go, finally. Rodney McLeod Jr., 6 tackles in a pass defense. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He had 5 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, a pass defense, and an interception. Pretty good day for him. Winston Reed with 4 tackles, half a sack, and 2 passes defense. Grant Delpit had 4 tackles. Likewise for Greg Newsome II. Martin Emerson, 3 tackles and a forced fumble. And DeAnthony Bell with 3 tackles as well. Zadarius Smith added 2 tackles and a sack for Cleveland. Total yards, Commanders 434, Browns 212. As it sits through 5 weeks, Cleveland is the only team in the NFL to have not scored 20 points or amassed 300 yards of offense in a game this year. Passing yards, 219 for the Commanders, 108 for the Browns. Rush yards, 215 for the Commanders and 104 for the Browns. Washington at 19 first downs, Cleveland 12. The Commanders finished 8 of 17 on 3rd down and 2 for 2 on 4th down. The Cleveland Browns, big reason why they lost this game. Ineffectiveness on 3rd down. 1 for 13. That's about 7-8%. That's it. And 2 for 3 on 4th down. Cleveland had 9 penalties for 52 yards, 7 sacks taken for 33, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 7 punts. Washington, 5 penalties, 31 yards, 3 sacks taken for 17, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 4 punts. Time of possession, 31 minutes, 18 seconds for the Commanders, and 28 minutes, 42 seconds for the Browns. Closing line was Washington -3, over under 44. I took Washington both ways, and that will even my straight up and ATS records. I am happy to report there. Alright. The Jacksonville Jaguars continued their home dominance of the Indianapolis Colts as their 37-34 win on Sunday extends Jacksonville's home field win streak over Indianapolis to 10 straight. We'll begin with individual numbers for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are now in the win column for the first time in 2024. Probably one of the best games we've seen from Trevor Lawrence. 28 of 34, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 119.5 passer rating plus 2 rushes for 4 yards. Tank Bigsby, big game rushing, 13 for 101 and 2 scores. Travis Etienne held to 17 yards on 6 rushes. Pretty big game on Sunday for Brian Thomas. 8 catches, 122, or rather 5 catches for 122 and a touchdown on 8 targets. Christian Kirk, 4 for 88 on 4 targets. Travis Etienne, 6 for 43 on 7 targets. Gabe Davis, 3 for 38 on 4 targets. Tank Bixby added a catch for 28 on his only target. And the wonderful world of Brenton Strange, 4 catches, 24 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. All right, Cam Little, 3 for 3 on field goals. Long was 49, 4 for 4 on extra points. And Logan Cook with 2 punts averaging 51. Long was 58. 1 punt inside the 20. Leading the way for the Jacksonville defense is Antonio Johnson. He had 8 tackles. Ventrell Miller, I don't think he's related to Von Miller. He had 6 tackles. Andre Sisco, 6 tackles and a pass defense. Then you had 4 tackles from Monteric Brown. Travon Walker, 4 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a pass defense. He and Andrew Van Ginkel will share the honors for Defensive Player of the Week. Ronald Darby, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Chad Muma, he had 3 tackles. If I can get back there. There we go. And Darnell Savage with 3 tackles. Josh Hines Allen, 3 tackles and a sack. For the Indianapolis Colts, Joe Flacco, 33 of 44, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 121.3 passer rating. He was strong in a losing effort. How about the rookie wide receiver from Texas, Adonai Mitchell, making his first NFL pass for 24 yards and a 118.8 passer rating. Trey Sermon led the depleted Colts rush attack minus Jonathan Taylor. He had 10 rushes, 38 yards, and a touchdown. Alec Pierce, big game for the Colts. 3 for 134 and a touchdown on 3 targets. This, I think, is Josh Downs. Yep, Josh Downs. 9 for 69 on 12 targets. Adonai Mitchell, we talked about him throwing a pass. He had 4 catches for 38 yards on 7 targets. Mo Alley Cox, 2 for 37 on 4 targets. Michael Pittman, 5 for 37 on 8 targets, and both had a touchdown reception. Matt Gay, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 37, and 4 for 4 on extra punts. And Rigoberto Sanchez, 4 punts averaging 52.5 yards. Long was 65, 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. EJ Speed led the Indianapolis D with 6 tackles. Next up is Jalen Jones, second-year player out of Texas A&M. He closes with 5 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 passes defense. Then you've got the rookie Laiatu Latu from UCLA. He had 4 tackles, plus a forced fumble. Grover Stewart, 4 tackles, and Zaire Franklin Zaire Franklin and Samuel Womack each had 3 tackles and a pass defense for the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Blackman also added 3 tackles. All right. Total yards, a lot of them in this game. 497 for Jacksonville, 447 for Indy. Passing yards, 371 for the Jags, 348 for the Colts. Rush yards favored Jacksonville, 126-99. Indianapolis, however, had the edge in first downs, 25-20. The Colts finished 7 of 14 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. And the Jaguars, 3 of 10 on third down, 1 for 2 on fourth down. 5 penalties, 34 yards for the Indianapolis Colts. 4 sacks taken for 35. 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 4 punts. 3 penalties, 25 yards for the Jacksonville Jaguars. No sacks taken, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 2 punts. Okay, why is this freezing? No. Time of possession, 31 minutes, 32 seconds for the Colts. 28 minutes and 28 seconds for the Jaguars. My app is freezing. Sorry about that. I'm trying to run as quickly as I can through these games. Yeah, okay. Get this off. Yeah, that's all. Closing line was Jacksonville minus 3.5. Over under was 44. I took the Colts, or no, I took the Jaguars straight up and against the spread. I ran it down as a push, but I actually won this one. So I'm 4-3-1, or rather, I am 4-3 ATS and 4-3 straight up. If you're joining us late, you're watching the week that was as we run down the team and individual numbers from week 5 of the 2024 NFL season. And stay tuned till the end for my week 6 power rankings. And again, there is some shuffling going on this week. We'll run you through all of it at the end of this rundown. Okay, there it goes. Looks like there. The last of the early Sunday afternoon games sees the Miami Dolphins outlast the offensive challenge New England Patriots 15-10. Sap is just doing whatever it wants, guys. There. Okay. Dolphins 15, Patriots 10. So Miami goes to 2-3, while New England sits alone in the bottom of the AFC East at 1-4. And yes, this description says this game was sloppy. As we look at individual numbers for the Dolphins, it was the third string emergency quarterback that got the job done here in a sloppy game. Tyler Huntley, 18 for 31 for 194, no touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 63.1 QB rating. And 3 rushes, 7 yards. Okay, he had two 80-yard rushers for the Dolphins. Led by Jalen Wright, he had 13 carries for 86 yards. And Raheem Mostert with 19 carries for 80 yards. Ingold added a rushing touchdown for Miami. Okay, yeah, Tyreek Hill, 6 catches, 69 yards, 9 targets, leading the way for the Dolphins receivers. Jonnu Smith, 5 for 62 yards on 8 targets. And Jalen Waddle, 4 for 46 on 8 targets. That should be Jason Sanders. Yep, I'm right. Alright. He went 3 for 4 on field goals. His long was 54 with no extra points. Extra points. And Jake Bailey, this is the veteran punter. He had 2 punts for 44 average, 46 his long punt, 1 punt inside the 20-yard line, and he also had a blocked punt. Okay, Marcus May led the Dolphins defense with 5 tackles and a pass defense. Jordan Brooks had 4 tackles. Javon Howard, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Jalen Ramsey had 4 tackles and 2 passes defensed. Emmanuel Ogba, 4 tackles and a sack. And Kader Kohu, 3 tackles and a pass defense for the Dolphins. Moving on to the New England Patriots, Jacoby Brissett, 18 of 34, 160 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 65.8 QB rating. News from this game, he has been benched, and the rookie Drake May will be taking over the reins as the starting quarterback beginning this Sunday against the Texans. Good game for Ramondre Stevenson, 12 rushes, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Antonio Gibson, 6 for 52. Demario Douglas led the Patriots receivers, 6 catches, 59 yards on 9 targets. Keyshawn Boutte, 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 2 catches, 34 yards, and 2 targets. Hunter Henry, 2 for 32 on 4 targets. Joey Sly, 1 for 2 on field goals. Long was 38, 1 for 1 on extra points. Barrett Behringer, 6 punts, averaging 51.7. Long punt was 69. 3 touchbacks and 1 punt inside the 20. And my mistake, his name is Bryce Behringer. This is why I check their names. The Patriots defense was led by Del Pettis and Jalen Hawkins with 6 tackles apiece. Christian Gonzalez also had 6 tackles plus 2 passes defense and an interception. Sorry, my computer is slow tonight. Daniel Ekuel had 4 tackles and half a sack. Raekwon McMillan, 3 tackles. Christian Ellis, 3 tackles. Marcus Jones had 3 tackles as well. Jacqueline Roy, 3 tackles and a sack. Come on. And Jonathan Jones had 3 tackles for the New England Patriots. Total yards, 372 for the Dolphins and 299 for the Patriots. Pass and rush yards both favored Miami. Dolphins 179 yards passing to 148 for the Patriots, and 193 yards rushing for the Dolphins versus 151 for the Patriots. Miami had 24 first downs versus New England's 15. Both teams were very bad on third down, especially Miami. 2 of 11. 4 of 13 for the Patriots. Both teams 0 for 1 on fourth down. 6 penalties, 54 yards for the Dolphins. 3 sacks taken for 15. 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 3 punts. How about 12 penalties and 105 yards for the Patriots? 2 sacks taken for 12 yards, no lost fumbles or interceptions, and 6 punts. Time of possession, 34 minutes, 20 seconds for Miami, 25 minutes, 40 seconds for New England. Closing line was Miami -2, over under 37. I took the Patriots in this game, both straight up and against the spread, so now I am 4-4 in both my straight up and ATS picks. The late games begin with the Arizona Cardinals upsetting the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara 24-23. The Cardinals saved their season for at least another week as they move to 2-3, and the 49ers will drop to 2-3. We'll begin with individual numbers for the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, ho-hum game, 19 of 30 for 195 yards, a touchdown and an interception, 79.2 passer rating, plus 7 rushes, 83 yards, and a rushing touchdown. James Conner did the rest for Arizona, 19 for 86. Cardinals receivers were led by Michael Wilson, 5 for 78 on 6 targets. Trey McBride, 6 for 53 on 9 targets. Marvin Harrison Jr., 2 catches, 36 yards on 7 targets. And in addition to his rushing numbers, James Conner added 2 grabs for 14. Chad Ryland, who was brought in as the kicker for the injured Matt Prater, he went 3 for 4 on field goals. Long was 42, and 1 for 1 on extra points. And Blake Gillikin, 2 punts averaging 53, Long was 60, with 1 inside the 20. Buda Baker spearheaded the Arizona defense with 8 tackles. Mack Wilson Sr., 5 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Then you've got Zaven Collins with 4 tackles. Jalen Thompson with 3 tackles and 2 passes defensed. Sean Murphy Bunting, 3 tackles and a pass defensed. They had two tackles and a sack each from Chris Barnes and Naquan Jones. Dadron Taylor Demerson added 2 tackles and 2 passes defense, while Kazir White added a tackle of pass defense and an INT. For the 49ers, Brock Purdy, 19 of 35, 244 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, QB rating of 62.1. Jordan Mason, still filling in at running back for the injured Christian McCaffrey, had 14 rushes, 89 yards, and 1 catch for 9 yards on his only target. So that's nearly 100 yards for him. Brock Purdy added 4 rushes for 33 yards. Isaac Guerrero, nice off the tongue there, 5 rushes, 22 yards. Leading the charge for the San Francisco receivers is Brandon Ayuk, 8 for 147 on 12 targets. George Kittle, 8 for 64 and a touchdown on 12 targets as well. Alright, Jake Moody began the game. He was 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 28 and 2 for 2 on extra points. He has a high ankle sprain and is expected to miss multiple weeks, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Mitch Wisnowski, 1 for 1 on field goals, connecting from 26 yards. He also had just 1 punt for the day at 41 yards. Fred Warner led the Niner defense with 7 tackles. You had 5 tackles from Jair Brown. Nick Bosa, 4 tackles. Denominator Lenore, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Oh, there was also a pass defense and an interception for Bosa as well. Leonard Floyd, 3 tackles and a sack. And Charvarius Ward with 3 tackles. Of course, now you send me here. Alright, team stats is where I want to go. Here we go. Okay, total yards, San Francisco 384, Arizona 358. Passing yards favored the 49ers. 231 to 189. Rush yards favored the Cardinals, 169 to 153. San Fran had 22 first downs to Arizona's 19. Third downs, 3 of 10 for the Cardinals, 6 of 11 for the 49ers. Fourth downs, 1 for 1 for Arizona and 0 for 1 for San Francisco. 1 penalty for the entire game for the Cardinals for 5 yards. 1 sack taken for 6 yards. No lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 2 punts. And 4 penalties, 21 yards for the 49ers, 2 sacks taken for 13, 1 lost fumble, 2 interceptions thrown, and 1 punt. There it goes. Time of possession was 32 minutes, 58 seconds for the 49ers. And 27 minutes, 2 seconds for the Cardinals. I may have to close this app and then reopen it, see what happens there. Closing line is San Francisco -7. The over-under is 49. I did take the Niners both ways and lost. So I am now 4-5 in both my straight up and ATS picks. Okay. Bear with me for just a moment as I close the Sports Alerts app and reopen it. And then we'll talk about the Raiders and the Broncos. Okay, let's reopen it. It's gonna take a second to populate. Hopefully we can run through these last 5 games seamlessly. Okay. Sent me to the week 6 schedule. That's cool. We'll go back to week 5 because that's what we're working on. Alright, sorry about that. I had to restart my Sports Alerts app because it was slowing. Okay. Next game, the Denver Broncos. Great offensive showing as they beat the Las Vegas Raiders 34-18. It is their first win in the series against the Raiders since 2019. Denver previously had lost the last 8 in the series against the Raiders. We'll start with individual numbers for the Broncos, who were wearing their 1977 throwback uniforms on Sunday and looked good in them. Bo Nix, 19 of 27, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 117.2 passer rating, plus 8 rushes for 9 yards and 8 rushing touchdown. All right, Javonte Williams paced the Broncos rushers with 13 carries, 61 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, 6 for 22. Leading the receivers is the aforementioned Javonte Williams, 5 for 50 on 6 targets. Lil Jordan Humphrey, 2 catches, 48 yards on 2 targets. Cortland Sutton, 2 for 32 on 5 targets. Josh Reynolds and Jaleel McLaughlin each had a touchdown reception for Denver. Riley Dixon finished the day I'll get to him in a sec. Will Lutz was 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 51 and 4 for 4 on extra points. And now we can talk about Riley Dixon. 6 punts averaging 43.2. Long was 53. 1 touchback, 3 inside the 20. Okay. Justin Sternad and Cody Barton led the Denver defense with 7 tackles each. Zach Allen, 5 tackles and a sack. Jaquan McMillan with 5 tackles. Brandon Jones, 3 tackles. Riley Moss, 2 tackles, or rather 3 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. And PJ Locke closed with 2 tackles and a pass defense. I think the star of this game is Pat Surtain II. He had 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, 2 interceptions. One of those returned 100 yards for a touchdown. That really blew the game out of. That really brought the game out of reach for the Broncos. That pick 6. Long distance pick 6. Alright, individual numbers down for the Raiders. Gardner Minshew, 12 of 17, 137, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 74.5 passer rating. He would be benched in place of Aiden O'Connell, 10 of 20 for 94 yards, no touchdowns and an interception, and a 42.5 passer rating. Minshew also had 2 rushes for 22 yards. Amir Abdullah led the Vegas rushers, 5 for 42 yards and a touchdown. And Alexander Madison, there we go, 15 rushes, 38 yards, just 2.5 yards per run. Good game on Sunday for Brock Bowers in a losing cause. 8 for 97 and a touchdown on 12 targets. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 72 on 9 targets. And that's pretty much it for the receivers. Daniel Carlson, 1 for 1 on field goals, 1 for 1 on extra points. Long field goal was 40. AJ Cole, 5 punts averaging 53.4. Long punt was 61 with 2 inside the 20-yard line. Robert Spillane led the Raiders in tackles for a second week in a row. He had 6 on Sunday. I don't know why his name's not coming up. Okay, we'll try this one. Their names are not coming up. Anyway, Mulrig and Wilkins had 4 tackles. Mulrig added a pass defense. Wilkins a sack. Paulo Mal 3 tackles. Max Crosby 3 tackles and 2 sacks. As I won't continue to fight with this thing. Total yards: Raiders 330, Broncos 289, passing 215 for Vegas, 180 for Denver, rushing 115 for Vegas, 109 for Denver. 20 first downs for the Raiders, 18 for the Broncos. Third down, 7 of 15 for the Raiders and 3 of 12 for the Broncos. Fourth downs, 0 for 1 Vegas, 1 for 1 Denver. Raiders had 11 penalties, 79 yards, 3 sacks taken for 16, no lost fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 5 punts. 9 penalties, 44 yards for the Denver Broncos, 3 sacks taken for 26, no lost fumbles, no interceptions, and 6 punts. Time of possession, 31 minutes, 23 seconds for the Raiders, 28 minutes, and 37 seconds for the Broncos. Closing line, Denver -3, over under 36. I took Vegas with the points and straight up, and I ended up losing both those picks. And my computer's doing screwy things right now. I'm trying to stay in the Sports Alerts app, but it keeps sending me everywhere else than where I want to go. Hold on a second. It's this one. There. I don't know why it did that. But anyway, I took the Raiders to win and to cover, and I obviously lost both picks since the Broncos looked pretty doggone good on Sunday. I'm sorry this is taking so blasted long. The app restarted. I'm so sorry, guys. I usually whip through these without issues, but apparently tonight's the night it wants to act up. Story of my life, right? But anyway, I took the Raiders to win straight up and against the spread, and I lost both those picks. Once the app comes back, well, there it is. Alright, the app is back, and now we can tell you about the Green Bay Packers beating the Los Angeles Rams 24-19. Wow, this thing is like so flippin' slow. If I have to restart this computer, I may have to. I don't know yet. Damn it. I may have to restart this thing if the problems persist. Okay, now we can tell you about the Green Bay Packers beating the Los Angeles Rams 24-19. Alright, here we go. Individual numbers for the Packers. Jordan Love, 15 of 26, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, QB rating of 95.7 plus 3 rushes for 10 yards. Josh Jacobs, the only running back that matters in Green Bay, 19 rushes, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Kraft, 4 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. That's Tucker Kraft, I'm sorry. Tucker Kraft had 4 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets, and Jordan Reed 4 for 78 on 6 targets. Okay. Brandon, that better be Brandon Narvison. I know the last name is Narvison. Come on. This thing is so... Braden Narvison. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start this computer over again because it is slower than molasses right now. So we'll be back up to this in a few... Crap. We'll be back up to this in a few minutes. So in case you missed it earlier, I did the week 7 college football television schedule because there is a game on as we speak. So I had to come on and record that. So really the next video I have after this will be my picks on Thursday and the injury report leading into Thursday night football. And I think the next couple of weeks are going to have games on Tuesday nights in college football. So I'll be coming on earlier than usually scheduled. Because I usually do those college football TV schedule rundowns on Wednesday. But since we have games on Tuesday and pretty much every night of the week except Sunday, it's kind of had me doing it a day early. But it's all good as long as we get it done. That means pretty much nothing to record tomorrow. All I have to do is just get my picks in. And go from there. Okay, I have to reboot my computer. Hurry up. I don't have all night. I'm not even going to bother turning my VPN on right now because that's going to take longer. And we're almost an hour and a half into this video and we still have 4 games and the power rankings left. Really? This computer is pretty much doing whatever the hell it wants right now. I swear this is gonna go over 2 hours, I think. Now, that is something I never did in a live stream, especially during an NFL recap. And that's restarting my computer. Boy, this is not. Wow, this is taking way too long. Okay. I'm going to step off for just a second, but I'll be back in a few. Wow, this is taking so long. Here's something else I've never done either. Smoke a cigarette while I'm recording. I just want to get this done. Yes. Well, finally you decided to come back. Come on, don't play with me. Okay, now where was I after that little detour? The Green Bay Packers defeated the Los Angeles Rams 24-19, and hopefully I can get through these last 4 games without issues. The Packers moved to 3-2, while the Rams are off to their worst start since 2012 at 1-4. Individual numbers for the Packers. Yeah, Jordan Love, 15 of 26, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a 95.7 passer rating, plus 3 rushes for 10 yards. Josh Jacobs, 19 rushes, 73 yards, and a touchdown led the Green Bay rushers. Tucker Kraft had 4 catches, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. And Jordan Reed, 4 for 78 on 6 targets. Braden Narvison, 1 for 1 on field goals. Long was 46, 3 for 3 on extra points. And Daniel Whelan, 5 punts, averaging 37.2. At long was 41, 1 punt inside the 20. Quay Walker led the Packers defense with 6 tackles. Javon Bullard had 5 tackles. 4 tackles, 2 passes defense from Evan Williams. And then 4 tackles and 1 pass defense from Keyshawn Nixon. Isaiah McDuffie finished with 3 tackles. Same for Eric Stokes and Lucas Van Ness. Edgerrin Cooper, he closed the day with 3 tackles and a sack. TJ Slayton, 2 tackles, or rather 3 tackles. Xavier McKinney, 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. And for the Los Angeles Rams, Matthew Stafford, 29 of 45, 260 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 78 passer rating. Kyron Williams, 22 rushes for 102 yards and a touchdown. Blake Corum, the rookie running back from Michigan, 5 for 25 yards. Leading the charge for the LA receivers is Jordan Whittington, 7 for 89 yards on 10 targets. Tutu Atwell, 6 for 58 on 10 targets. Colby Parkinson, 7 catches, 52 yards on 13 targets. And DeMarcus Robinson had 3 catches, 28 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets. No field goals for Joshua Carty, and 1 for 2 on extra points. Ethan Evans, 3 punts averaging 43 yards. Long was 51 with 3 inside the 20-yard line. Okay, Quentin Lake had 5 tackles for the LA defense. Colby Turner had himself a game, 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a pass defense. Cameron Curl, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Christian Roseboom, 3 tackles. Akello Witherspoon, 3 tackles. Kobe Durant, 3 tackles as well for the Rams. Total yards, LA 370, Green Bay 323. Passing yards, LA 236, Green Bay 197. Rush yards, 134 for LA, 126 for Green Bay. First downs, 24 for the Rams, 19 for the Packers. Green Bay won this game despite going 1 for 8 on third down. Most of the times when you go 1 for 8 on third down, you lose, but not the Packers. The Rams were much better. They were 8 for 16 on third down and 2 for 4 on fourth down. 6 penalties, 34 yards for the Packers, 2 sacks taken for 27, no fumbles lost, 1 interception and 5 punts. 5 penalties, 30 yards for the Rams, 3 sacks taken for 24, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 3 punts. Time of possession, Rams 32 minutes, 41 seconds, Packers 27 minutes, and 19 seconds. Closing line, Green Bay -3, over under 49.5. I took the Packers both straight up and against the spread, and I won both picks. And spoiler alert, this would be the last straight up and ATS win I would have this week, because I would lose these final 3 games, starting with, unfortunately, the New York Football Giants going into Seattle and beating the Seahawks 29-20. By the way, the Lions curse is real. Seattle played Detroit last week, and now they play the Giants and lose again. They are 3-2, while the Giants are 2-3. Individual numbers for the New York Giants: Daniel Jones, 23 of 34, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, probably his best game this year. QB rating of 109.6, plus 11 rushes for 38 yards. How about Tyrone Tracy Jr.? This is the rookie back out of Purdue, filling in due to the injury to Devin Witherspoon. Or not Devin Witherspoon, but rather Devin Singletary is what I meant to say. I'm just closing everything down. What the? Yeah, we're gonna go at least. Alright, why is it not opening? Dug it. I'm gonna have to reboot this thing again. Really? Come on, I just want to get done. Seriously, I just want to get done. This flipping computer continues to do whatever it wants to do instead of what I want it to do. This is ridiculous, man. This will probably be my longest recap ever. I have less than 25 minutes to keep this under 2 hours. Really? It's like I've gotten nothing accomplished in like the last 15 minutes. I'll be back, guys. I'm back, but the app isn't. Really? Alright, now where was I? I don't even remember where I was, but we'll start again. As the New York Giants beat the Seattle Seahawks 29-20, and the Lions' curse is real, folks. The team that plays Detroit 1 week and then plays another opponent the second week loses to said opponent, and that is the case here. Individual numbers for the Giants. Daniel Jones, 23 of 34, 257, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 109.6 passer rating, one of his best games of the year, plus 11 rushes for 38. Then there's Tyrone Tracy Jr. This is the rookie back out of Purdue. He came in for Devin Singletary, and he filled in quite nicely. 18 rushes, 129 yards, and 1 catch for a yard on 2 targets. Darius Slayton led New York's receivers with 8 catches, 122 and a touchdown on 11 targets. Eric Gray had 3 catches, 50 yards on 4 targets. Theo Jackson, 5 for 48 on 5 targets, and Wan'Dale Robinson, 6 for 36 and a touchdown on 9 targets. Greg Joseph, he's still in for the injured Graham Gano. 3 for 3 on extra points, or rather 3 for 3 on field goals. Long was 38. 2 for 2 on extra points. And Jamie Gillen, 4 punts averaging 46.5. Long was 59 with 1 touchback. Giants defense is led by Tyler Nubin with 7 tackles. Jason Pennock, 4 tackles. Dane Belton, 3 tackles. Likewise with Bobby Okereke. Micah McFadden also had 3 tackles. Cordell Flott had 3 tackles and added a pass defense. And Deonte Banks, 2 tackles, a forced fumble, and 3 passes defense for the Giants. Over to the Seattle side of the ledger, Geno Smith, 28 of 40, 284 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 98.3 passer rating, and he led the team with 4 rushes, 72 yards, while Kenneth Walker was held to 5 carries, 19 yards. But he had 7 catches for 57 on 8 targets. Tyler Lockett led Seattle's receivers with 4 grabs, 75 yards, and 6 targets. DK Metcalf, 4 for 55 on 7 targets. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 4 for 31 and a touchdown on 7 targets. Noah Fant, 3 for 24 on 3 targets. And Zach Charbonnet, 3 for 19 on 5 targets. Jason Myers, 2 for 3 on field goals. Long was 48, 2 for 2 on extra points. Michael Dixon, 4 punts averaging 48.3. Long was 55, 1 touchback, and 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Jerome Baker led the way for the Seahawks defense. 8 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Trey Brown with 7 tackles. Julian Love, 6 tackles. Devin Witherspoon, 5 tackles. Derek Hall, 4 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Tyrell Dodson, 3 tackles, and a sack. And he had 3 tackles each from Rayshawn Jenkins and Draymond Jones. Total yards, New York 420, Seattle 333. Passing yards, 245 for the Giants, 231 for the Seahawks. Rush yards, 175 for the Giants, 102 for the Seahawks. First downs, 24 for the Giants and 17 for the Seahawks. New York 7 of 16 on 3rd downs, 0 for 1 on 4th down. Seattle 3 of 11 on 3rd down, 0 for 2 on 4th down. 2 penalties, 20 yards for the Giants, 3 sacks taken for 12, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, 4 punts. 6 penalties, 30 yards for the Seahawks. 7 sacks taken for 53, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 4 punts. Time of possession, ball hawk territory for the Giants, 37 minutes, 22 seconds. Seahawks, 22 minutes, 38 seconds. Closing line, Seattle -7, over-under was 42.5. And I did take Seattle as my lock of the week, so that's my second L in 5 games as far as my lock of the week is concerned. Now to Sunday Night Football. And it was a late night at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh as thunderstorms ran through the area right as the game was scheduled to begin at 8:20 Eastern. They had a 1 hour, 25-minute rain delay, which means this game didn't get started until 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday night. And the game ended at around 1 a.m. Eastern Time Monday morning. End result is the Dallas Cowboys defeating the Steelers 20-17 to move to 3-2 on the season. The Steelers are also 3-2 after the loss. Individual numbers for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, 29 of 42, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 90.6 passer rating and 1 rush for 3 yards. Rico Dowdle probably had one of his best rushing performances of the year, if not the best. Rather, his career, I should say. 20 rushes, 87 yards. Ezekiel Elliott held to 6 for 17. Jalen Tolbert, a lot of people may be taking him in fantasy drafts this week. He had 7 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown on 10 targets. Jake Ferguson, 6 for 70 on 7 targets. CeeDee Lamb, 5 for 62 on 9 targets. Cavante Turpin, 4 catches, 50 yards on 5 targets. Rico Dowdle, in addition to his rushing numbers, had 2 grabs for 27 and a touchdown on 2 targets. Brandon Aubrey, 2 for 3 on field goals, long was 55, 2 for 2 on extra points. Brian Anger, 1 punt for 45 yards. DeMarvion Overshown led the Cowboys defense with 7 tackles and a pass defense. Eric Kendricks, 4 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass defense. Malik Hooker, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Mozzie Smith, he shares the same birthday as me, June 15th, only I'm 20 years older than him. He had 3 tackles. Donovan Wilson also had 3 tackles, as did Amani Oruwari. I hope I got that right. Let's see. Wheat, Goldston, Adigazua, and Lawson all had a half a sack, while Linval Joseph had a sack and a forced fumble with his 2 tackles. Meanwhile, for the Steelers, Justin Fields, 15 of 27, 131, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 93.3 passer rating, plus 6 rushes for 27. Kyle Allen came in briefly in the 4th quarter. He was 1 for 1 for 19 and a 118.8 QB rating. Najee Harris, 14 rushes, 42 yards, led the Steelers rushers. He also led Pittsburgh in receiving, 2 catches for 35 yards on 2 targets. Van Jefferson, 3 for 26 on 5 targets. George Pickens, 3 for 26 on 7 targets. Connor Hayward had 2 catches, 23 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. And Pat Freiermuth, 3 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. Chris Boswell, 1 for 1 on field goals, long was 41, 2 for 2 on extra points. Corliss Waltman, 5 punts averaging 44.4 yards, long was 48, 1 touchback, 2 inside the 20-yard line. Minka Fitzpatrick led the Pittsburgh defense with 8 tackles and a pass defense. TJ Watt, 7 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. He did have a half a sack early in this game, which brought his career total to 100. He is the second fastest player to 100 sacks in NFL history, behind only Reggie White, who did it in 96 games. Patrick Queen, 6 tackles. Deshaun Elliott, 5 tackles and a pass defense. Peyton Wilson, 5 tackles. Dante Jackson, 4 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Joey Porter Jr., 3 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception, making his father, Joey Porter, proud. Beanie Bishop Jr., love that name, 3 tackles, pass defense. And Landon Roberts had 3 tackles and a forced fumble for the Steelers. Total yards, 445 for the Cowboys, 226 for the Steelers. Passing yards, 336 Dallas and 134 Pittsburgh. Rush yards, 109 Dallas, 92 Pittsburgh. Cowboys had the edge in first downs, 25-17. Dallas 9 of 15 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. Big reason why the Steelers lost, 3 of 12 on third down. Not good, but 2 for 2 on fourth down. 11 penalties, 87 yards for the Cowboys, 2 sacks taken for 16, 1 lost fumble, 2 interceptions, and a punt. 8 penalties, 50 yards for the Steelers, 3 sacks taken for 16, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 5 punts. Time of possession, 32 minutes, 29 seconds for the Cowboys, 27 minutes, 31 seconds for Pittsburgh. Closing line, Steelers minus 2.5, over under 43.5. Took Pittsburgh both ways and lost. And we'll wrap up the rundown with Monday Night Football as the Kansas City Chiefs stayed perfect. They defeated the New Orleans Saints 26-13 as they joined Minnesota as the only 5-0 teams in the league. Meanwhile, after a hot start, the Saints have cooled off, losing 3 in a row. They are now 2-3. And Kansas City has now won 11 straight games dating back to last year, and that includes their playoff run as well. Individual numbers for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, just another typical Patrick Mahomes game. 28 of 39, 331 yards. No touchdowns, however, and 1 interception. That lowered his QB rating to 86.6. He also had 6 rushes for 22 yards. Kareem Hunt, 27 for 102 and a touchdown, paced KC's rushers. Juju Smith-Schuster had a good game, 7 catches, 130 yards, and 8 targets. Travis Kelce, 9 for 70 on 10 targets. He was kind of in witness protection the first month of the season, but he broke out here on Monday night. Mecole Hardman, 4 for 33 on 4 targets. Noah Gray, 2 for 29 on 2 targets, and Xavier Worthy, 3 for 25 on 6 targets. Harrison Butker, 4 for 5 on field goals. Long was 38, 2 for 2 on extra points. Matt Araiza, 1 punt for 56 yards. Nick Bolton paced Kansas City defense with 6 tackles. Jalen Watson had 5 tackles and a pass defense. Trent McDuffie, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Drew Tranquill had 3 tackles. Justin Reed also had 3 tackles. Brian Cook had 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. And Tershawn Wharton, 1 tackle and a sack. For the Saints, Derek Carr, 18 of 28, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and an 89.1 passer rating. He did leave the game in the fourth quarter with an oblique injury. And it is reported earlier that he will be missing multiple games for the Saints. So Jake Haener came in for the rest of the game, went 2 for 7 for 17 yards and a 39.6 QB rating. Alvin Kamara was pretty much held in check, 11 rushes for 26 yards, and 6 catches for 40 yards on 8 targets. Rashid Shaheed led the New Orleans receivers with 4 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. Foster Moreau, 2 catches, 13 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets. Chris Olave was pretty much a non-factor, 2 catches, 10 yards on 4 targets. Blake Grupe, no field goals attempted, I should say, and 1 for 2 on extra points. And Matthew Haybaugh, 4 punts at 49.8 per punt, long was 53, 1 punt inside the 20. Anthony Orji led the Saints defense with 7 tackles. Jonathan Abrams, 6 tackles. Demario Douglas, 5 tackles. Marshawn Lattimore, 4 tackles. Alontae Taylor, 4 tackles and a forced fumble. Paulson Adebo, 4 tackles and a pass defense. 3 tackles for DeMarco Jackson, and 3 tackles and a sack for Brian Breesy. Kalen Saunders, 2 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception for the Saints. Okay. Total yards, 460 for the Chiefs and 220 for the Saints. Passing yards, 321 for the Saints, or rather 321 for the Chiefs and 174 for the Saints. Rush yards, 139 Kansas City and 46 New Orleans. Kansas City had double the first downs as the Saints, 28-14. Saints 4 of 10 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. Chiefs 6 of 14 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. 5 penalties and 70 yards for the Saints, 1 sack taken for 8, no lost fumbles, 1 interception and 4 punts. 6 penalties, 55 yards for the Chiefs, 2 sacks taken for 10 yards, no lost fumbles, 1 interception and a punt. Time of possession, ball hawk territory for the Chiefs, 39 minutes 56 seconds, while the Saints 20 minutes and 4 seconds. That's it. Closing line, Kansas City minus 5.5. Over-under is 43. I was foolish taking the Saints in an upset, and it cost me dearly. So, how did I do this week? To sum it up in 2 words, not good. I went 5-9 in my straight-up picks. And I went 5-9 as well, ATS. So overall, my record straight up is down to 44-34. That is a far cry from the 13-3 opening week. And against the spread, I am now, I'm trying to think here, 43. I am 39. Let's see. I am 39, 34, and 1 in my ATS picks. So yeah, really bad week for me making picks. Okay, let's run through my week 6 power rankings. Starting at the bottom where the Carolina Panthers are back in that familiar spot at number 32. They are 1-4 and they will host the Falcons in week 6. Number 31, down 5 spots, are the New England Patriots at 1-4. They're home to the Houston Texans. Number 30 is the Cleveland Browns, also at 1-4. They're down 8 spots this week, and they get the Eagles in Philadelphia this week. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 1-4 move up to number 29 after that win over Indianapolis. They are playing the road team. They're playing as the road team against the Chicago Bears in London. Staying in the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans, who were off last week, they have a 1-3 record. They move up 1 spot to number 28, and they are hosting our number 27 team, the Indianapolis Colts, at 2-3, falling 6 spots from last week. Number 26 is the Cincinnati Bengals at 1-4, down 2 spots from last week. They host the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins, after back-to-back wins, sit at 2-3 and into their bye week at number 25. The aforementioned Giants are also 2-3. They're up 6 spots to number 24, and they're hosting Cincy on Sunday night. Number 23 is the 2-3 Las Vegas Raiders, down 3 spots from last week, and home to the Steelers. At 22, you've got the Los Angeles Rams at 1-4, down 4 spots from last week, and they're off in week 6. Number 21 is the suddenly red-hot Denver Broncos at 3-2, up 4 spots from last week. Next up is the LA Chargers at Mile High. Number 20, up 3 spots from last week, are the Arizona Cardinals at 2-3. They are in Green Bay against the Packers. Number 19, staying in the same spot they were in their bye week, is the LA Chargers at 2-2, and they are in Denver. Down 2 spots to number 18 are the New Orleans Saints at 2-3. They are hosting Tampa Bay, and they fell a couple spots, as I said. The second biggest jump this week goes to the Chicago Bears, up 10 spots to number 17 with a 3-2 record, and they play the home team against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. Number 16, down 3 spots, are the New York Jets, who of course fired Robert Saleh as their head coach. They are 2-3. And they will host the Bills on Monday Night Football. Number 15, down 6 spots from last week, are the Seattle Seahawks at 3-2, and they will host the 49ers on Thursday night. Taking a 4-spot drop to 14 are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 3-2. And they have a big division game against the Saints in the Superdome this week. Speaking of big games, that's what's on deck for the Dallas Cowboys, now at 3-2 and sitting number 13. They host the Detroit Lions in week 6, and they are up 2 spots from last week. The San Francisco 49ers, after that disappointing loss to the Cardinals, fell 4 spots to number 12. They are 2-3. And they play Seattle on Thursday night, so really no rest for them. The Philadelphia Eagles remain at number 11 after their bye week. They are 2-2, and they get the Cleveland Browns. Up 4 spots to number 10 are the Green Bay Packers at 3-2. Next up for them, the Arizona Cardinals. The Buffalo Bills, after back-to-back losses, they drop a couple spots to number 9. They're 3-2, and this week they visit the Jets on Monday Night Football. Up 4 spots to number 8 are the Atlanta Falcons at 3-2, and they are in Charlotte this week against the Carolina Panthers. Down 2 spots to number 7, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 3-2, and they play the Raiders out in Vegas. Biggest jump this week goes to the Washington Commanders, up 11 spots to number 6 with a 4-1 record. And they get their Beltway neighbors in Baltimore this week. At number 5, up a spot from a week ago, are the Houston Texans at 4-1. They play the Patriots in New England. Number 4, and staying in the same spot, the Baltimore Ravens at 3-2, and they get the juggernaut Washington Commanders into M&T Bank Stadium this week. 2 and 3 switch spots as the Detroit Lions move down after the bye to number 3. They have a 3-1 record and a huge revenge spot against the Dallas Cowboys coming up. And taking Detroit's old spot at number 2 are the Minnesota Vikings at 5-0. And staying in the top spot, the Kansas City Chiefs, also 5-0. Both teams are off in week 6. And after 2 hours and 6 minutes, we are finally done with all that mess there towards the end here. That is your week 5 edition of the week that was. Now, I've already done the week 7 college football television schedule. That is out now if you want to check that out. We usually do those videos on Wednesdays, but since there's a game on tonight, I had to do it today. And I think for the next few weeks that's going to be the case too. So join me for the weekly college football television schedule. And our next video is coming up on Thursday, as we'll look at my week 6 NFL picks, both straight up and against the spread, with the announcers from every single game, and the injury report going into the Thursday night divisional clash between the 49ers and Seahawks. So make sure you join me on Thursday for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. And sorry again for the quality of this video. It was just rough. My Sports Alerts app kept shutting down or slowing down, and I had to reboot my computer twice just to get it to work. So hopefully we won't run into those problems next week. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out. Well,